the 2012 Hawaii legislative session about to open in less than a week, Representative Pine is preparing to press the state for answers to the widely publicized closure of Hawaii Medical Center West and its impact on our local community. Please join me in welcoming Representative Kymberly Pine.
Well, thank you so much for having me here today. And actually, I think it was a couple of days ago, Harold called me and said, Kim, we need answers to the Hawaii Medical Center crisis. And I had just met with my staff. I said, we need to do something about this. Personally, I find it unacceptable how the state has handled the situation. It seems like anything out this side is not a priority. And it's really been my legislative career to really speak up for this side of the island. Never in the history of Hawaii has such a large number of people been laid off, and it also affected our health and safety. And there has been no really immediate response to the situation. And so what we're going to try to do is just work with our community members and come up with solutions to what happened. The day that the hospital closed, I received an urgent message from my staff. You have to call this representative from Hawaii Medical Center. They really need to talk to you as soon as possible. And it was in the morning, and I was on my way into the Capitol, and I called them, and they said, Kim, we've decided to close down the hospital today. And so that was the type of notice that I was given. Something has happened behind the scenes, and we don't know what happened. We're still trying to search for information to see what could we have done as elected officials to help this situation. As you know, the Hawaii Medical Center kind of went through this before with St. Francis, then becoming Hawaii Medical Center. And so even the staff at Hawaii Medical Center that was keeping us up to date about what they were being told during this process, they truly believed that the hospital was going to stay open and that we would find a buyer. And as it's been publicized in different newspapers, there was an offer made, but unfortunately it did not cover the debt of the Sisters of St. Francis, and so they objected to the offer and to the buyout. So where does that leave us now? In talking to different medical providers and professionals and people in the community who understand this issue, they see basically what's going to happen since that sale failed, that there's going to be a sell-off of different assets so the Sisters of St. Francis can get whatever they can back from their investment. That is when many medical providers believe that the opportunity will present itself where there will be another buyer come into the location of Hawaii Medical West's current location. Behind the scenes and talking to different medical providers, they are somewhat concerned about the person or the entity that did make the offer to buy the hospitals. And this is personal opinions, and if anyone has another one, please present itself so that we can have two sides of this discussion. They are worried about this company coming in that did make the original offer of not having the quality of care in terms of its customer service that we would like to see in the state of Hawaii. And they mean that in a sense that maybe it's not the right fit for Hawaii and the type of culture that we have here. And so there's a lot of people behind the scenes in the medical community to try to convince a local provider that we already know. Either it's the owners that own all the Straub and hospitals, maybe it's Kaiser, at least someone or some entity that we are used to working with. There's a very strong movement behind the scenes to see what we can do to encourage someone that we already know to buy this location. There are several challenges, though, that we have to open up a hospital on the Leeward Coast. One is, and it's the biggest one, the biggest problem that we have is Hawaii has one of the lowest Medicaid reimbursement rates to our providers in the nation. we're in the 70 cents per dollar reimbursement range, which is horrible. And most states, I would say majority of states, are in the 80 to 89% reimbursement range. And so you can imagine with the Leeward Coast having about 25 to 30% of the population needing the Medicaid status to get their services, you can imagine that looking for an investor into this Leeward location is going to be very difficult if the state keeps those reimbursements in the 70-cent range. And so what I'm going to be proposing is to support the medical providers' requests, and they've come to the legislature many years but have failed to increase this Medicaid reimbursement. I now see this as a crisis situation that we have to do that this legislative session. We have to fast track that bill. Any delay by the state in this area will make it perhaps a crisis situation for us where we may never get a hospital again out here. This is so crucial to the Leeward Coast. Another thing that has been suggested by the medical community, but legislators for some reason did not support this idea, either because they're focusing on the budget in the last few years, or they just didn't support the idea, and that is helping our long-term care facilities to move wait-listed people that are in acute care right now in the hospitals, that there's a long delay to get them from the hospitals to the long-term care facilities. And there's multiple situations that cause that, and I don't want to go into that now because it's very detailed. But on any given day, you have 150 people that are ready to leave the hospital and can go into these facilities, but different state regulations, different rules and procedures that the state and our providers have come up with has prevented the fast tracking of their movement. So you can imagine it's much more expensive to stay in an ICU or a CCU room than it is to go into a long-term care facility. And that has cost our state millions of dollars. All this extra money that we're spending for the same patient that can just be moved to another facility could have gone into reinvesting in healthcare, could have gone into a hospital reinvesting in more staff members so that we can increase our medical care. And so we are really losing out on that benefit. And so I will be reintroducing legislation that will work with the providers and the hospitals in the state to see what we can do to increase the number of days that they do have to stay while they're in the hospital while they're waitlisted. The other solution that has been presented by different providers, and this did not pass in the last legislative session, and that was allowing nursing homes and long-term care facilities to charge provider fees. Naturally, anytime you increase a fee, either with a customer or a provider, no one's going to like it, so that, of course, is very controversial. However, almost every state in the nation does it. You folks are all business managers, or you're good at finance, so you know that when you invest $1, you hope to get $1 back. And right now, anyone in the medical profession are not even getting their investment back. So it's really a losing business to be in most cases. And so what other states have done is they've given these long-term care facilities the ability to charge different fees to different entities that they work with, and not substantial fees, but slight fees that will at least help to make up the loss and the cost of them doing business. Right now, what I'm doing to talk to different people in the state government and medical professionals is see what can we do at the very minimum to open at least an emergency room back in that location. And as you can imagine, that comes with a lot of different complications. And we want to know first of all, is it illegal? Some states, you can't just have an emergency room, you have to have an entire facility. And so we're looking to see how that affects us here in the state of Hawaii. And that seems to be what's causing people the biggest anxiety. It was so sad to my staff and I that right after the hospital closed, one of my residents died right in front of the hospital. And that was the motorcyclist who was sideswiped by another car and his arm was severed and he bled to death. And we are, as a leader, it just troubles me that what if that person could have been saved? And we don't know. It was a very horrible accident. We don't know if he died immediately or what, but one of the causes was the great loss of blood. And so I think about that person every day. I think about this situation, because that could be my husband. You know, that could be me or my neighbor. We travel the same route every day. And so those are some of the things that we're working on in our office, and we're really trying to push this. I'm going to be really pushing the government administration to kind of step up in front of this issue a little more than they have. I don't know if it's that they're not doing enough or that they're not communicating what they're doing. What I'm finding and talking to people like you and people at the Safeway and Foodland is what's really hard is the anxiety right now. And so I'm going to be asking the government to at least communicate more what they're doing, show the steps that they're taking to help to deal with the situation and the after effects of what happened. We've been trying to promote through my office as many job fairs and job assistance programs as possible to a lot of my constituents, at least that are on my communication list. And actually, that's something that I'm coming to you folks today to see if you'd like to be my partner with. We are going to have a town hall meeting of all the people that are dealing with the situation so that people can ask them questions and also see the things that the state is doing, as well as our medical providers and how they're dealing with this huge influx of people. We'll be starting a website called leeward911.com that is basically going to be run by my office and any volunteer that we can find, that is going to help to redirect people to the right hospitals for different situations. That's what we're not seeing that's being done by the state right now that we want to see more of. And so it's going to list all the different hospitals that are within our area or closest to us, and who you can go to for different types of situations. If you're just feeling sick, we want to help direct people to the right places so that people who really need to go to an emergency room or use one of our ambulances that I'm sure more of you are hearing more. I'm sure you're hearing more sirens now, either from fire trucks or emergency vehicles. We certainly are hearing a lot more of them in Eva Beach. And so we want to make sure that we can isolate the use of those vehicles for the people who really, really need it. What I'd like to partner with you folks is to help to sponsor a job fair. We are desperately in need of a very comprehensive job fair very soon, and maybe we can do several throughout the year, but we need to put one on immediately, because not only has so many of our residents on the Leeward Coast lost their jobs through this closing of the hospitals, but all the businesses that provided services to these hospitals. Many small businesses, like many of you folks, have completely shut down their businesses. And there's, of course, other people on the Leeward Coast that have lost their jobs, but we're so lucky that we're having the most growth here, but no one is connecting our own Leeward residents with our own Leeward businesses. And so we're hoping to add that to the website as well, just so that people have somewhere to go and have easier access to information.